Picture this scene with me. The year 2009. Deep in the sacred grounds of Abydos, one of ancient Egypt's most holy sites, workers unearth a simple block of pink granite. Archaeologists glance at it, snap a few photographs, and store it away with hundreds of other stone fragments. For 15 years, nobody looks at it twice. But ancient seekers, what they had in their hands was about to become one of the most extraordinary archaeological discoveries of the 21st century. The lost sarcophagus of the greatest pharaoh in history was hiding in plain sight. Now let's travel back over 3,000 years to understand why this discovery is so mind-blowing. Abydos wasn't just any location. This sacred city in Upper Egypt was considered by the ancient Egyptians as the gateway to the afterlife itself. Here they worshipped Osiris, the god of death and resurrection. For more than 3,000 years, pharaohs and nobles built temples and cenotaphs in this blessed place, seeking to secure their place in eternity. And Ramses the Great, also known as Ramses the Second, was no exception. This monarch, who ruled Egypt for 66 years between 1279 and 1213 before Christ, was probably the most powerful and recognized pharaoh of all time. His reign marked the peak of the Egyptian New Kingdom. The achievements of Ramses the Second seem pulled straight from legend. He built more monuments than any other pharaoh. Abu Simbel, Pi Ramesses, countless temples and statues proclaiming his greatness throughout the Nile Valley. He led epic military campaigns, including the famous Battle of Kadesh against the Hittites. He had more than 100 children with his numerous wives and concubines. But here's what will blow your mind. According to archaeologists from the Supreme Council of Antiquities of Egypt and the French Institute of Oriental Archaeology, recent excavations suggest that Ramses II had ordered the construction of a cenotaph in Abydos, following the tradition of his predecessors. Now, a cenotaph is a symbolic tomb built in addition to the royal tomb to ensure divine protection from Osiris. But here's the mystery that baffled archaeologists for decades. Media. Archaeologists examining stone fragments, close-up of hieroglyphic inscriptions on ancient walls. The archaeologists had found evidence of this cenotaph. Architectural fragments, inscriptions, remains of walls. However, the most important piece was missing. Media. Empty stone sarcophagus chamber. Tomb with missing sarcophagus digital overlay, the royal sarcophagus. Royal sarcophagi weren't simple stone boxes, ancient seekers. They were masterpieces of Egyptian craftsmanship, carved from granite from the finest quarries, decorated with sacred hieroglyphics and funerary texts that guaranteed the pharaoh's safe passage to the afterlife. The sarcophagus of Ramses II would have undoubtedly been one of the most spectacular pieces ever created. But it had completely disappeared. Egyptologists speculated about its fate. Perhaps it had been destroyed in antiquity. Maybe later looters had fragmented it to reuse the precious stone, or perhaps it simply remained buried somewhere in Abydos, waiting to be discovered. Meanwhile, that fragment of pink granite continued on its shelf, ignored and forgotten. Fast forward to the year 2024. Frederick Payraudeau, an Egyptologist from the Sorbonne University in Paris, decided to review the stored pieces from Abydos excavations. Payraudeau is known in the academic world for his extraordinary ability to read deteriorated hieroglyphic inscriptions, those that other specialists dismiss as illegible. When he took that granite fragment in his hands, something caught his attention. There were marks on the stone that didn't seem random, traces that could be remains of hieroglyphics carved more than 3,000 years ago. Field research conducted by teams from the Egyptian Museum in Cairo and international universities has documented that the technique for deciphering heavily deteriorated inscriptions requires years of experience in the use of special lighting, high-resolution photography, and digital analysis. Payraudeau applied all these techniques to the fragment. Slowly, like a millennial puzzle being solved gradually, the hieroglyphics began to appear before his eyes. First, he distinguished a vertical stroke, then a horizontal one, then the unmistakable shape of a cartouche, the sacred oval that enclosed the name of a pharaoh. His heart must have raced when he realized what he had before him. Studies published in specialized journals like the Journal of Egyptian Studies suggest that royal cartouches follow very specific patterns. Each pharaoh had unique titles, combinations of hieroglyphics that functioned as an unmistakable signature. The strokes that Payraudeau was deciphering fit perfectly with the titulary of Ramses the Second, the throne name User Mat Ra, the birth name Ra Meses Su, the royal titles, the chosen of Ra, beloved of Amun. There was no possible doubt. That seemingly insignificant fragment belonged to the royal sarcophagus of Ramses the Great. But the story had an even more incredible twist, fellow explorers. When analyzing the tool marks on the stone, Payraudeau discovered something extraordinary. The fragment had been reused centuries after the death of Ramses. The evidence pointed to Dynasty 21, a period that began around the year 1050 before Christ. Various academic works and excavation reports agree that Dynasty 21 was a time of profound crisis for Egypt. Central power had weakened, the economy was in decline, and resources were dramatically scarce. The pharaohs of this period, much less powerful than their predecessors, couldn't afford to extract fresh granite from the distant quarries of Aswan. Instead, they did something unthinkable in times of splendor. They reused ancient monuments, looted abandoned temples, dismantled statues of previous pharaohs, and recycled royal sarcophagi to build their own tombs. The sarcophagus of Ramses the Second had suffered exactly this fate. Some forgotten pharaoh of Dynasty 21 had ordered the dismantling of the Abydos cenotaph to reuse its precious materials. The irony is perfect, ancient seekers. The sarcophagus of the most powerful pharaoh in history ended up being recycled by one of his weakest successors. Ramses the Great, who had built eternal monuments throughout Egypt, saw his sacred resting place dismantled piece by piece. Payraudeau published his conclusions in 2024, causing a revolution in the world of Egyptology. That forgotten fragment in the Abydos warehouses had revealed not only the existence of the lost sarcophagus, but also a fascinating story of power, decline, and survival through the millennia. The discovery raises intriguing new questions that keep archaeologists awake at night. If this fragment survived, perhaps other pieces of the sarcophagus exist, scattered throughout museums and archaeological warehouses around the world. Maybe it's possible to reconstruct, at least partially, the sacred container of the greatest pharaoh of all time. Some Egyptologists propose that more fragments could be waiting to be identified in the collections of the British Museum, the Louvre, the Egyptian Museum in Cairo, or even in university deposits around the world. The search has begun, treasure hunters. Specialists from different countries are systematically reviewing fragments of pink granite from Abydos, applying the same techniques that Payraudeau used for his revolutionary discovery. Modern technology has completely revolutionized how archaeologists approach these enigmas. The use of three-dimensional laser scanners can reveal details imperceptible to the human eye. When they applied these techniques to Payraudeau's fragment, they discovered something that would change everything they thought they knew about the sarcophagus's fate. In the last months of 2024, suspicious fragments have appeared in the archives of the British Museum, the Metropolitan Museum in New York, and surprisingly, in a private collection in Vienna that had been closed to the public since the 1950s. What archaeologists are discovering is absolutely mind-blowing. One of these fragments preserved in London contains part of the most important funerary text of the sarcophagus, the Book of the Dead, personalized for Ramses the Great. This wasn't a standard copy, ancient seekers. It was a unique version adapted specifically for the most powerful pharaoh in history. The fragments contain hieroglyphics that don't appear in any other known royal sarcophagus. They're unique variations of magical formulas, personalized invocations, and references to specific achievements of Ramses's reign. It's as if the pharaoh had commissioned a luxury version of the manual for eternal life. Chemical analysis of the granite has revealed that the stone didn't come from the traditional quarries of Aswan as expected. The mineral composition points to a much more distant and exotic quarry, the mountains of Egypt's eastern desert. in a zone that the ancient Egyptians considered sacred, and that only opened for the kingdom's most important projects. The transport of granite from these remote quarries to Abydos would have required an expedition of epic proportions. What do you think about this incredible discovery, fellow time travelers? Could there be more fragments waiting to be found? What secrets might still be hidden in the sands of Abydos? Share your theories in the comments below. Join us next time as we continue uncovering the treasures that time forgot and the secrets that changed the world forever. Until then,